Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. You know, the Netflix show Quarterback is really peeling back the layers on the quarterbacks, including Joe Burrow. We've learned that he loves fossils. He thinks the Super Bowl is, quote, just another game, and something we kind of already knew, he is the ultimate competitor. And the reality is he's facing another season of questions about his team and their ability to overcome slow starts. Certainly a few teams with that narrative. So let's talk about it with our Mike Renner, who's got a couple of reality checks coming our way. And Mike, we're going to start with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think it has been so fun to get to see this version of Joe Burrow, but the reality is he's a competitor, and last year you really saw how frustrating it was for him to be in the MVP conversation and to not get the wins. So as we start here with a reality check in Cincinnati, what's the reality looking like for Joe Burrow?
The reality is, I think this is the year he takes home the MVP because of all the things you kind of just said. Last year, if they would have made the playoffs, he very well could have won the award. He was playing quarterback as well as anyone. But I think the big difference from last year to this year is he's got two wide receivers that are happy as heck after the contracts they signed last offseason. Instead of coming into camp grumbling, not wanting to be there, they're going to come out the gate week one, and I think you're going to see a much different sort of offense from the jump, unlike we saw a year ago. Their offensive line should be better. Last year's first-round pick, Amarius Mims, going into year two, you should see a big jump from him. And while the defense is still an issue, it should be good enough to make the playoffs, but still have them in shootouts. So he's still going to put up the numbers. And when you compare him to, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, three other guys who could be in that MVP conversation, well, those guys all have an MVP already. So voters are going to trend towards the guy who doesn't have one. So all those tea leaves, Joe Burrow stays healthy, I think he's going to be your MVP this year.
I hope so. I have really enjoyed just getting to know him as a person. He's been a fashionista since he was walking, and a few other nuggets in there too. But he was close last year. We'll see if he can get there this year. Let's talk about the reality for the New England Patriots, Mike, because as the summer has gone along, it just seems like more and more of our CBS analysts are leaning towards a surprising run in New England this year. They got a new head coach. They've got a lot of faith in their quarterback as well, but they finished 4-13 last season. How are we feeling about this reality that the Patriots could be a playoff team? I mean, that feels weird saying it out loud after what we've seen over the last 5 years or so.
I know. I think a lot of fans around the NFL are enjoying this respite from the Patriots' dominance, right? Like the past 20 years before that, you couldn't have a conversation about who's going to win the Super Bowl without it starting with the New England Patriots. And now, obviously, that hasn't been the case. 4-13 the past two seasons, but they're making the playoffs this year. Everything is pointing in that direction. 12 new starters from a year ago. Surrounding Drake May, we have 4 new offensive linemen, 3 new wide receivers, a new running back. On the other side of the ball, they actually spent more money adding 4 new defensive starters, Milton Williams and Carlton Davis, chiefly among them, and the defense wasn't bad a year ago. So all that, in addition to Mike Vrabel now becoming the new head coach and Drake May, after a very encouraging rookie season, going into year 2, which is traditionally the biggest leap for a quarterback, with the 3rd easiest schedule in the NFL, yeah, I think the New England Patriots are going to make the playoffs this year.
If we take a look at that schedule, Mike, because it all gets started with the Raiders to open the season, then they jump straight into AFC East competition with the Dolphins, a road trip there. What is your schedule prediction? What do you think this team is going to do? Because 4-13 kind of feels like it's only up from there.
Yeah, it's really soft out the gate. And so with those, the Raiders, Dolphins, Steelers, Panthers, those first 4 weeks, they could very easily be 4-0 heading into that Bills game on Sunday Night Football, and that will be your litmus test. It's like if they can hang with the Bills, even pull off an upset in Buffalo, we're talking about a team that's definitely making the playoffs. If they're rocky 2-3, 3-2, well then I'll sit here and be like, yeah, I was probably dead wrong. But I do think early on you'll get Drake May a great chance to get his feet wet against some less than stellar competition.
All right, everyone keep your eye on the Patriots, man. They are sneaking up the list of teams to be surprising in 2025. We'll keep our eye there. We did see on the schedule, though, that they get the Steelers in week 3, and that's where we're going next here, Mike. I think there's not very many absolutes when it comes to the NFL, but one of them as of late has been that Mike Tomlin is not going to have a losing season. But with so many question marks right now, right? Aaron Rodgers, their wide receiver room, the defense, and the holdouts. Is this the year that we see that reality of a losing season facing Mike Tomlin?
This is the most worried I've been about the Steelers having a losing season because, one, they're just old. unfortunately, whether it's the quarterback position where Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old, and we've seen what happened to the Jets when they hung their hopes to a quarterback at that age the past 2 years, whether it's their defense, where their three most impactful players, and TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Jalen Ramsey now, are all on the wrong side of 30, where when it goes, it can go quickly, or injuries are much more likely to occur at that age. So I'm just worried about this team, the cohesiveness of it, when you have, like I said, a sort of mercenary at the quarterback position, because Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't do average seasons. You know, he doesn't want to just be 9-8, 8-9, around that range. He either wants to go 14-3, or if it's not going well, it might be 4-13. So I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, this would be, unfortunately, with the tough division in the AFC North, the biggest chance of them not meeting that 500 threshold in the Tomlin era.
And it's crazy, Mike, when you look at what they have added to this roster. 26 total career Pro Bowl selections on these new additions. It got Aaron Rodgers with 10. Jalen Ramsey joins the team from the Dolphins. Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. My point in saying all of that is that the Steelers do have the recipe to be successful if they can get that cohesiveness that you talked about. I'm more curious, though, if this does start to go sideways, if the reality of a losing season does start to set in for Mike Tomlin, what does that mean for him? Because I feel like we've never really had the conversation about Mike Tomlin being on the hot seat, because he never is.
There have been grumblings. Now, it's not a national conversation, but Steelers faithful have not been enthused with Tomlin and the direction they're going, and rightfully so. I mean, if you just look at schematically what they're doing offensively, they are not at the bleeding edge of the offense coordinators around the NFL. And if there is one downfall from Mike Tomlin, it has been that. So I do think if they don't meet 500 this year, those grumblings will turn into screams from Steelers faithful, just because of who they are as a franchise and what the expectations are. And so, right or wrong, I think if he doesn't go 500 this year, I think it might be it for Tomlin in Pittsburgh.
I feel like that's a reality that I will believe when I see if it does come true. But they do have an uphill battle going forward. A lot of question marks there. Lastly here, Mike, I want to ask you about Ashton Jeanty, because he was so close to a record-breaking season in his final year of college. I believe he was 28 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' rushing record. And I have really enjoyed getting to know him as an adult as well, too. He likes to go to Olive Garden, likes to dress up as Michael Myers, all the things. But going into his rookie year, the reality for him, there could be more records on the line that he could break, according to you.
I think he breaks the rookie rushing record. This is the highest expectations I've had for a rookie running back in quite some time, for a number of reasons. One is just who Jeanty is. I mean, almost broke the single-season collegiate rushing record that Barry Sanders held, had 50 more broken tackles than any other running back in college football a year ago, had more yards after contact than any running back had total. So he is a superb running back prospect that should hit the ground running. Oh, and by the way, he goes to an offensive coordinator in Chip Kelly, who's one of the best run game schemers in the NFL. When he got to Philly, everyone remembers Nick Foles. Not a lot of people remember that Shady McCoy was the league's leading rusher that season, Chip Kelly's first season, by over 200 yards, had his best season of his career. And last year at Ohio State, they were one of the best rushing teams in the country, and everyone thinks, oh, they had all these great wide receivers. They're a high-powered passing offense. They had almost a 50-50 pass-to-run split. He is a guy who wants to run the football, will feed a lead back if he has such, and so Ashton Jeanty, he's going to get a ton of opportunities, a ton of carries. 1,808 yards is the record. It stood for over 30 years now. Eric Dickerson said it in 1983. I think Ashton Jeanty breaks it this season.
Feels like a little bit of unfinished business. Amanda's shaking her head to my right. I don't know if she's talking about the record or not, but we'll have to wait and see. Renner, I like these realities. I hope they come true. This was a great list, my friend. Thanks for your time. You can get more of Mike Renner on the Pushing the Pile podcast. Him and Kyle Long bringing all the fun and energy to the gridiron. Scan that QR code to get tapped in now. Well, staying in the NFL, since we are 50 days away, a lot of quarterbacks with something to prove, including that guy, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young. Pete Prisco has put together a list, and how we love them. Are you surprised C.J. Stroud is on the list? We'll talk about it coming up.